I do these demonstrations, well, I'll have like 50 people or 75 people or 100 people stand up and introduce themselves to everybody. And I'll remember all their names in real time, or they'll give me 100 words or 100 random numbers, and I'll recite them forwards and backwards. And I always tell people, I don't do this to impress you, I just express to you what's possible. Because the truth is, everyone watching this could do that and a lot more. We just weren't taught. The faster you could learn, the faster you could earn.
All right, it's not normal for me to reach out to people and say, I want you to come be on the podcast on YouTube with me. But as I look at us facing a really crazy time, whether it's the economy, whether it's quarantine and COVID, a name just kept coming to the surface, which was Jim Kwik. And the reason is I'm always telling people the importance of investing in themselves and their skill sets and their abilities. And that could seem like a pretty arduous task, or very like, how do I do that? Well, since you're the guy that knows about the brain and about, memory and about so much that can be effective with how people can communicate and how they can expand what they're up to, I had to have you on. And, we're friends. We've known each other for a while. You actually, the first time I met you in person was at one of the most killer events. It was like the Dalai Lama was speaking, and F.W. de Klerk, and, Stephen Covey. I mean, it was just like this. And I actually got to speak on that stage, which I've never been more nervous to speak in my life. But I remember we took a picture together. I'd heard your name a whole bunch. And then we've got to share the stage since. And we just missed each other when you're out here in Utah recently. So can't wait for us to connect. But we've taken a little bit of time to kind of to catch up. And one of the things that's going on for you right now is you just hit the New York Times with your first book, which I'm still, how is this your first book, dude? Like, I think this is your fifth book. And then you hit #1 on Wall Street Journal, and it's #7 overall on Amazon at the time of this. So first, I just want to say congratulations. And second, I'm really excited for what people can do to invest in themselves with what you teach.
Yeah, Garrett, this is a real pleasure. And thank you everyone who's watching this right now and joining us for this conversation about utilizing your brain, which I believe is the #1 wealth building asset that we're born with. It just doesn't come with an owner's manual, and it's not always user friendly. But I believe that the faster you can learn, the subtitle of Limitless is upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. But that learn anything faster part, I believe it's one of the most important skills right now, to be able to adapt, to be able to learn new subjects, learn new skills. And the faster you can learn, the faster you could earn.
I love that. The faster you could learn, the faster you could earn. And I just think that that's a question a lot of people have, is like, how do I make more money? Mm-hmm. Or what does it mean to invest in myself? And I feel like you're so practical with that. So let's just go through a couple of things. And the second thing is, tell me how in the hell, when I see all these pictures of you, you're like I thought it was a fake picture the first time I saw one of these pictures. Is like you and the entire cast of like one of the Marvel shows. Right. And it's like, oh, Jim's teaching them all this stuff about the brain. Not bad. Like, I thought it was Photoshopped for a second. Then I saw other pictures and other people talking about it. So by the way, that's super cool, because, I just think that's fascinating, the level that you're doing this at.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I think the people that succeed at the highest level, they all invest in themselves, and they're all lifelong learners, and they are where they are because they're always reading, they're always looking to advance and progress and commit themselves to that deep work. And that photo, I believe, is the photo of the X-Men with Halle Berry and Jennifer Lawrence and Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. Yeah, there's this. I open actually the book with that story of how that happens, because I don't know, when people see me at events, and at that event specifically, that where you and I met, it was also people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, it was Richard Branson. I mean, that was quite an event. So that was a big inflection point for me, just also as well. So met some amazing friends, lifelong friends, like yourself. Yeah. So yeah, let's dive into this.
So with Limitless, give me a little bit more of the premise, and just give me like one thing that someone can do right now that's quick, meaning it's your last name. So let's give it quick tips here, just that they can build momentum, like one specific thing that they could really do.
Absolutely. So the heart of the book is the Limitless model, which is unlike you, I really value frameworks and a lens to be able to look at things through. And so there I present a three-part framework for not only accelerated learning, which I think is the most important skill to master in the 21st century. Like for instance, if there was a genie could grant you any one wish, but only one wish, you would wish for limitless wishes. Everyone watching would, that would be the thing to wish for. But if I was your learning genie and I could grant you any one learning wish to help you master any one subject or any one skill, just one, what would it be? And I believe you'd wish for learning how to learn, because if you could learn how to learn, you could apply that towards money, management, marketing, martial arts, music, mom, anything, and anything at all that you get gets easier for you. And so maybe we could dive into the limitless model, and then
Yeah.
I'm really happy to give you, everyone watching, as many quick tips as we could fit into this conversation, because
Yeah,
I'm
give me the
all about.
Limitless model. I want it.
Yeah, okay. So here you go. So I want everyone to think about an area of their life where they feel limited. And we'll make this like a little master class for everybody. So where do you feel like you're stuck in a box? As you're watching this, is it in a relationship? Is it in your personal health and well-being? Is it in your finances? Is it in your impact, your income, your investments? Where do you feel like there's a constraint there, you're not making progress? Because limitless for me is not about being perfect. Limitless is about advancing and progressing beyond what you believe is currently possible. So where do you feel like you're in that box? Like for me growing up, when people see me on stages, if there's time, I do these demonstrations. Well, I'll have like 50 people or 75 people or 100 people stand up and introduce themselves to everybody. And I'll remember all their names in real time, or they'll give me 100 words or 100 random numbers, and I'll recite them forwards and backwards. And I always tell people, I don't do this to impress you. I just express to you what's possible, because the truth is everyone watching this could do that and a lot more. We just weren't taught. If anything, we were taught a lie. And in the book, I describe lies, the 7 lies to learning, which are commonly accepted, but they're not absolutely true. And a lie for me, I talk in a lot of acronyms and teach in a lot of acronyms and mnemonics, and I alliterate everything. A lie stands for a limited idea entertained. So it's not necessarily true. It's just an idea that we give energy to, and we choose for it to be true. And so I know this is possible because I grew up with learning challenges. When I was 5 years old, I had an accident in kindergarten, head trauma, brain injury, and I was learning challenge for sure. Poor focus, poor memory. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read. When I was 9 years old, a teacher pointed to me in front of the whole class and said, "That's the boy with the broken brain." And that label became my limit and put me in that box. So where does everyone feel like they're in a box? Now, a box by definition is three-dimensional. It says 3 dimensions, and there are 3 forces that keep you in that box, and they're the same 3 forces that will liberate you out of that box. And so that's the 3 parts of the limitless model. So I want everyone to take out a piece of paper and draw 3 circles, 3 intersecting circles, a Venn diagram. Kind of looks like Mickey Mouse, 2 ears that overlap and a face, and so 3 circles that all intersect.
I'm drawing it too, man. I went and grabbed my paper.
Yeah. So everybody take notes, because there is a learning curve, like if anything, but there's also a forgetting curve. People don't realize that when you listen to a podcast or a YouTube video or read a book or go to a lecture, within 48 hours, upwards of 80% of it is gone, just forgotten. And I think a lot of people could relate to that. And so this will help you if you struggle with those areas, like you read a page in a book and just forget what you just read, or you get somebody's name and the name just disappears out of your mind. What we're going to share in this conversation will definitely help you. So 3 forces that keep you in that box, and this is a limitless model, and there are 3 M's. Now the last M I'll give you first are the methods. And Limitless, this book primarily was a book all on methodology. It was how to read 3 times faster, how to learn languages, how to remember facts, figures, formulations, how to be able to change your habits and focus and concentrate in a world full of distractions. And before I hit send to my publisher, I asked myself this question before I was like hesitating. I don't know why. And I was like, will 100% of the people who read this book get the results they're hoping for? And my honest answer was no. And that was that was a tough thing to reconcile, because I was like, wow, because a lot of people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. Like a lot of people, common sense is not often common practice, because one of the lies I talk about in the book is that knowledge is power. And I really, even though I say it and other people say it, it's not completely true. Knowledge at best is potential power. It only becomes power when we utilize it and we apply it. the truth is all the podcasts, videos, coaching programs, books, none of it works unless we work, right? So just a reminder for everybody who's watching is just buying a book and letting it sit on the shelf doesn't count. It becomes shelf help, not real self-help, right? And so what keeps us from that? So I realized there were two elements besides methodology that needed to be in this book. So I made it 3 books in one. And so the first M is actually your mindset. Now, mindset, that's the first circle, is you're a set of assumptions and attitudes about something. Your mindset could be your attitudes, assumptions about money, your attitudes, assumptions about work, your attitudes, assumptions about the economy, your attitudes, assumptions about the world, about yourself. So things that would fall in this circle are things like what you believe is possible, right? Also would fall in the circle what you believe you're capable of. Because you could believe, people watching could believe that, oh, that's possible for Garrett, but it's not possible for me. Maybe it's also what you believe you deserve. I mean, if we're gonna get really raw, some people don't believe it at a subconscious level that they deserve to earn this or have that impact or have that business or the whatever. And so I could teach someone the method on how to remember names, but if their mindset is, oh, I'm too old, or I'm so stupid, I'm not smart enough, then you're still stuck in that box, right?
This is why we're good friends, man, because my first book, Killing Sacred Cows, was all on, it's called, the subtitle's The 9 Subtle Lies That Destroy Prosperity, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about these, like, and the first main part was mindset, because if you buy into any scarce belief, you get scarce results. And then today I've been writing for 6 hours, my newest book, Win Then Play, and it's 4 M's. It's mindset, money, means, and meaning. And that whole mindset piece, without it, none of the book works if you just skip to the methodologies, which, I love methodologies just like you, but like, yeah, dude, I'm just totally tracking with it.
I got goosebumps when you said that. I mean, I call them truth bumps, but it's like, it's one of those things. You have to address it because, your brain is like this supercomputer, and your self-talk, your beliefs are the program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering names, you won't remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. And so it has to be addressed. And we go through processes of unlimiting. Unlimiting, when I talk about it in the book, is a word I coined. Basically, instead of unlimited, or static, unlimiting is the active removal of limits in your life. Specifically,
I was like, mindset's more about unlearning at times than anything else, right?
Yeah, because I was like, I wasn't born with this idea that I was broken, right? You're a blank slate. And these come through your expectations of other people, through your personal experience, through these external stressors, and they put us in that box. And so I agree that, these labels and ideas can become limits themselves, but they are absolutely learned.
You start out early just saying it's not about perfection. And so I think perfectionism is a plague, and perfection is an unwinnable game because it's a lie in and of itself. That part of the process is, part of learning is, like when we were kids and we learned to walk the first time, I don't know anyone that just walked the first time. They fell down, they went a little bounce, and then they tried again. We didn't go, don't let them do it again, they're going to fall. But somehow learning becomes, don't do it again because you don't want to fall. And so people don't, they believe those myths or that, misinformation that limits it. And if, we're really good at proving ourselves right.
Absolutely, absolutely. People come to me and they say, like, Jim, I have a horrible memory, or Jim, I'm just not that smart. I'm like, stop. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. A lot of people are arguing for their limits so that they're yours, right? And so that's the big challenge. And we were just talking about, before we started recording, stand up. This is something I've always wanted to do, get me out of my comfort zone. And it's interesting because you're right. Some people will try something once, like they'll try salsa class, or they'll try, stand-up comedy or something, and they'll fall, right? And they'll say, okay, I'm never going to do that again, because this fear of looking bad, it keeps us in that box, other people's expectations. So we need to go through a process on limiting. And you're right, I absolutely believe that everything is learned. And if it's learned, a lot of it has to be unlearned. So that's the good news. That's the first M, is mindset. Right. The second M and the third M is methods. But the second one in between that could keep you still in that box, even if you have a limitless mindset that everything is possible, that you're capable of it, you deserve it, is second M is motivation. Now, motivation is also a loaded word. We hear it a lot. And often when people think about motivation, they think about going to an event and jumping on chairs and dancing around and saying, I'm going to change my life tomorrow. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And the next day, nothing, X, Y, and Z don't get done. And so I realized that with motivation that there's a formula for sustainable motivation. A lot of people know the Limitless, the movie, right, with
Yep.
Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro, where he takes a pill and he goes from zero to hero. He has incredible focus. He writes his book in like a week. He learns languages. He has this focus and concentration, and he's a surge of motivation. But when the pill wears off 24 hours later, he goes back down to zero again. And that's not the goal with motivation. Motivation is you don't want to get hyped up and make decisions and then next day not follow through. So the formula for sustainable motivation that I've found over the past 28 years of teaching this is a very simple formula. It's P times E times S3. P, the letter P times the letter E times S3. And how I came about this is, again, I always wanted to study what makes people do what they do. I'm always very curious what motivates people, because common sense is not often common practice. Like we know the things we should be doing, but we're not actually executing it. And so I did this thought experiment. You'd appreciate this. I did this thought experiment, Garrett, where I was like, okay, if we're going to build the ultimate motivated human being, and we just use our imagination, what are the elements that has to be there? And this person, they have sustained motivation. And the proof that you're motivated is not what you say. It's not even how you feel. It's whether you're consistently doing something, right? So your teammate can say they're motivated, but if they're not acting, they're not really motivated. Your children can say they're motivated, but if they're not cleaning their room or studying or whatever, they're not motivated. And so P times E times S3. So the P stands for purpose. And I don't mean your life purpose, although I do talk about that in the book. I mean purpose as in defined as reasons to do something.
Right.
And I often find that the formula is mirrored by 3 H's: head, heart, hands. That you can have the mindset or set goals in your mind of what you want to hit, KPIs or income goals, investment goals, whatever, here in your head. But if you're not acting with your hands, using the methods, usually what's missing is that second H, which is your heart. And the heart is a symbol of emotions. So when I'm saying purpose, I mean not intellectually the reasons. People know why they should save, or they should work out, or they should meditate cognitively, but you have to allow yourself to feel it. And I believe reasons reap results. Reasons reap results. And so let's take working out as something simple, because I don't think anyone debates actually, moving each day is good for you. You can know all the positive reasons in your mind, but do you allow yourself to feel the rewards of working out? Do you also allow yourself not only to feel the pleasure, but also the consequences or the pain, that uncomfortability that comes from not following through? And so allow yourself to feel that, meaning that I remember I saw an acquaintance, this guy who I've always seen he was just very unhealthy his whole life. I've known him for a very long time. And I wouldn't say we're friends, but he just did everything opposite of what he should do, health-wise, lifestyle-wise. And everyone warned him and told him he needs to stop doing this and start doing this. And he wouldn't listen. And then one day he has a heart attack and he almost dies. He had triple bypass surgery. And you would think after coming out of that, he would follow his friends and his advisors' advice about, stop smoking and start eating this and sleeping and working out, but he still didn't do that. And then one day, a few years later, I see him on the street and he's picture perfect, like this picture perfect version of health. And he looks so much younger. And I was like, what happened? He was like, oh, I started eating, these foods, and I started working out and actually doing all this stuff. And I was like, well, why? I'm just curious. You didn't do that after you had a heart attack. Why would you do it now? And he said that one day he comes home and his daughter is crying and crying and crying. And he finds out that she had a dream that he wasn't going to be there to walk her down the aisle, and this whole story, and that he felt a purpose, and that feeling, that reason changed his whole life, right? So I would say, number one, in order to follow through on something, you need a reason to do so, and you have to allow yourself to feel it. And then my mind went, okay, back into this thought experiment. If somebody just has a big enough purpose, will they always consistently act and follow through and be motivated? And I was like, no, they can be missing the E in the equation, P times E times S3. E stands for energy, meaning that let's say it's working out, but somebody has a newborn, they haven't slept in 3 nights. They're not gonna have a lot of energy, they're not gonna be very motivated to hit the Stairmaster, right? Or to do their exercise that day. Let's say we know leaders are readers. I think if there's one thing people could be doing more of is reading, books. And that reading is your mind, what exercise is your body. Because if someone like yourself has decades of experience and you put it into a book and somebody could read that book in a few days, you could download decades into days. And they didn't have to pay and invest in like, the fortune you did in terms of your education, make the mistakes you did, the time. And I think it's when people see me with photos with Oprah, with Elon Musk, with individuals like Bill Gates, these individuals, we bonded over books, and I believe that reading is so important right now more than ever. And let's say you want to be motivated to read. And to get through a book, by the way, just as a caveat, it takes about 45 minutes a day for the average person, the average reader, to read a book a week. And that's such a huge advantage. With the average person reading 2 or 3 books a year, somebody who can read a book a week or 52 books a year, that's amazing. In a world where knowledge is not only power, knowledge is profit. There's this divide of those who know and those who just don't know. But let's say you ate a big processed meal and you're in a food coma, you're probably not going to follow through and be motivated to study and to read, right? So energy is key. In the book, I talk about the 10 keys for more brain energy, the best brain foods, how to optimize your sleep, manage your stress, and so on. Then my mind went, okay, if somebody just has big enough purpose and they have an abundance of limitless energy, will they always follow through and act and be motivated? I was like, no, one more thing missing. S3, 3 S's, small, simple step, small, simple steps, meaning that I feel like what keeps people, even if they are motivated, like have purpose, and even have energy, maybe that thing is just too big and it's too intimidating. And you're right, when we're talking about being perfect, a lot of thinking is good, but overthinking is not good. Meaning that some people overthinking and wanting to be perfect stop, any kind of progress. And so a small, simple step, like it could be in their mind, they want to find their soulmate and live happily ever after. They want to build a $10 million online empire. It's way, way too big. They want to have the perfect body. Small, simple step would be, instead of working out for somebody who's never worked out an hour a day, that might be too big. A small, simple step could be putting on your running shoes, right? A small, simple step, instead of reading 45 minutes a day, it could be opening up the book for somebody who's never really read a book. It could be reading one line. It sounds so simple, but inch by inch, it's a cinch, yard by yard, it's way too hard. And so the idea here, and how you find your small, simple step, is asking yourself this question: what is the tiniest action I could take that will give me progress towards this goal where I cannot fail? What is the tiniest action I could take to give me progress towards this goal where I absolutely cannot fail? Because it requires very little energy, very little effort. And so that would be the goal. And then I believe that, consistency compounds. Little by little, a little can become a lot. And then finally, the last M are the methods. And I talk about 5 superpowers in the book, mental superpowers, because I believe more people upgrade their phones and their apps than they do the most important thing, which is their mind and their capabilities. And what a wonderful time to level up your learning. And I think, in there we talk about focus, we talk about studying technical material, we talk about memory, which is the largest chapter in the book. I wrote it in Greece because I found out the ancient Greeks had a very specific process 2,500 years ago to memorize things before there were printing presses and everything else. And then speed reading, and then critical thinking skills, which is so important right now, but none of those things are taught in school, right? They teach you what to learn and what to focus on and what to study and what to read and what to remember, but not how to do those things. And that's why I wrote that book. Now, here's the aha for a lot of people. As you're looking at this or even imagining this Venn diagram, there are 3 M's and there are also 3 I's where the M's overlap. So where mindset crosses over with motivation, you have inspiration. And we know mindset experts, we know mindset books. A great book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, right? We have motivational speakers, motivational books, and where they cross over, you have inspiration. You have inspirational speakers, inspirational books, inspirational movies. An inspirational movie, you watch it, it kind of changes your idea of what's possible. And also, it also gives you some energy and some motivation. But you don't know what to do with it because you're inspired, but you're lacking the methods, right? And then where mindset crosses over with methods, you have the second I, which is ideation. Where mindset and methods cross over, you have ideation. because you can have this limitless mindset of what's possible and you can know what to do, but you lack the motivation. So you're still stuck in that box. And then finally, where motivation crosses over with methods, you have the third eye, you have implementation, right? You have purpose, you have energy, you know, the methodology of the process for investing or starting a business, or to learn, to read, to remember. But what keeps you in that box is your mindset, you know, in terms of what you believe is possible, what you believe you're capable of, what you believe you deserve. And then the final I, it actually is, can I actually share screen right now? I don't know if this works here. If it was possible, I could actually show you this diagram. But the final I is the fourth I, where the three M's and the three I's converge right in the middle, where they all converge. You have this thing called integration, and that integration, like integer or integral. It means you're whole. Integration is just who you are. And that is the limitless state. So you have mindset, motivation, and methods. And the idea that we're talking about right now, this conversation, is about don't downgrade your dreams to meet this current situation. Upgrade your mindset, your motivation, and your methods to be able to meet your dreams. And that middle part there is the limitless state. And this framework now becomes a framework for our performance, meaning that if you are not making progress, you feel like you're in that box, you have a lens to look at it and say, is this my mindset? Am I stuck there because I don't believe it's possible, or I don't believe I deserve it, or I don't believe I'm capable of, or do I not feel the purpose of consistently acting? Am I lacking energy because I'm around these energy vampires, family members or friends that are stealing my energy, my dream? Or am I not breaking it down to small, simple steps? Or am I using old methods, you know, for investing, or old methods for reading, or old methods for remembering? And it also becomes a role modeling tool also, because if somebody's succeeding, I believe genius leaves clues. Find out break down their mindset, their motivation, and their methods, and you can get the similar results.
I look at this as a really nice money map. I mean, you know, using the context of what I talk about on my channel a lot is like, yeah, mindset's critical for it, because you've got scarcity or abundance, and anytime you're in scarcity, you're going to destroy and deter wealth. You know, motivation, like a lot of people are just shirking responsibility, handing things over, and then just hoping for the best. Like, but if they really want to have a quality of life, they've got to get motivated about what their money could do for them versus just, you know, parting with it. And then the methods, I mean, yeah, I'm all day on methods around the money side of things, whether it's, you know, frameworks to keep more of what you make, or, you know, investor DNA. But I see this as being very, very useful for all that, and such a nice way to kind of give a lens to look at it. And a topic that normally could feel overwhelming or complicated, or people kind of check out, if you just broke it down piece by what Jim talks about. And the second thing that I'm seeing from this is, let's just say hypothetically, I have a friend that wants to do stand-up comedy. I'm just thinking about the P times E times S3, what they might do, just maybe, yeah. Right? Like they could maybe, to create more motivation, schedule an open mic and invite friends to be there. So right. That way, they've got some accountability. The simple step they could do today is they could just tell a joke, whether that be on an interview or whether it be at the end of the day with someone they talk to on the phone. But like, it feels like this is a really nice model that I could see on a stand-up stage very quickly, just using your own little system here, Jim.
Yeah, that's okay. So I'll commit to doing that. So right here publicly, you know, when we get together, let's go to your local comedy club and put this into practice for sure.
You text me, and you just got to be here on a Tuesday night, and we'll get you on an open mic. I'll do a set, you do a set. We'll have a good time.
Yes. How long is a set usually for?
3 minutes is your max.
How long?
3 minutes, but I did 4 minutes and 20 seconds the first time, because I prepared 3 minutes, but it didn't create room for laughs, and they didn't boot me off the stage. But I've also done a set on open mic where I walked away after 1 minute and 30 seconds because I was getting such a good applause. I was like, I'm not going to get better than this, so let's just call it quits. So somewhere between 10 seconds and 3 minutes, anywhere in there.
Okay, I think there's a Seinfeld episode with George Costanza where he hit a high note and he's just like, I'm done. He just walks out of the room out.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. It's 3 minutes. Does that go by fast, or you have like a time distortion? Does it feel like?
Feels really fast when you're funny.
Okay, when you're funny, otherwise it's, yeah, time is relative
It
for
feels
sure.
like, I was in Vegas doing a set once, and I told a joke that didn't land, and that was probably the longest 20 seconds I've ever had on stage to find my way back and get my rhythms back, because it's
Well,
just so used to it hitting.
see, I'm up for the challenge because I feel like how you do anything, is how you do everything. And I think it's important constantly to put ourselves in a place where we feel uncomfortable, to retrain ourselves like that child you were saying that falls. They fall 500 times, never do they get up and, never do they say like, okay, I'm not going to walk.
Right.
And so to recondition yourself to do things that are uncomfortable, because I believe the treasure we often seek is hidden in the work we're avoiding. And so getting yourself to do difficult things builds your, we talk about the growth mindset, but also builds like grit also. And that
Yeah.
could show up in other areas when you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody or something else.
I don't know why we've been conditioned as human beings to be afraid of pain. Like,
Mm,
what I think a lot of people do is they try to go around it, avoid it, pretend it's not there, and then it becomes like a puppet master. You know what people's actions are going to be because that's what creates disconnection, disease, and addiction. So what I find is the more we're willing to be in that, but I like to confront pain with compassion and love, because I know on the other side it's connection.
yeah.
So when I'm like, yeah, this is the first time I did an open mic, I was scared, I was nervous, but you know what? That heightened state, when I came off the stage and my buddy Todd Zane gave me a high five, then a bunch of other crowds started high fiving me and they're clapping. It just felt phenomenal because I faced that. And I think that your model here can help people face some of those fears, because a lot of times our excuses, if they're bigger than our motivation, then we get demolished. But here you're being more deliberate of creating
Right.
a bigger kind of vision than what the fear might be. Because I think most things that are really worthwhile in life can create a degree of fear, but it's how we manage that and how we address that. And a lot of people are petrified of stand-up comedy. And look, I was nervous. I did 2 sets on Saturday. I was nervous because it had been a few months with COVID since I'd been on stage. And within moments of being on stage, I felt completely different. And by
Yeah.
the end of my second set, I was having a hard time not laughing at one of the jokes I was saying, because I just having so much fun. And then I just went home and played a little section for my wife and called my agent. And it's like, but
It,
this is a great model for people to do these things.
and it's all connected. Even when you're saying like, when you're talking about me going on stage, tapping into that purpose, having accountability, breaking down the small, simple steps. And then once you do that, it's all connected because it changes your mindset. When you do something you thought was impossible, it opens and expands your mindset of what else is possible in my life. And then if you're constantly doing it, you enhance your practice, because whatever you're doing repetitively, you're getting better at. So your methods are upgraded also as well. So there's a big synergy that happens. And I agree that while the comfort zone is nice, not much grows there, right? While the beauty is in the butterfly, everyone wants the butterfly, but the growth happens in the cocoon. And doing that hard, that deep work is so important. Whether it's in your learning, your earning, your life, all of it is connected.
And one of the things that I've really adopted in the last year is the win is in the work. Like, the win is in the vision. And anything really, really exciting and worthwhile should be a little impossible. Because if you already have the wherewithal, the financial means, the abilities, the connections, that's just called a goal. But if you create a vision that's beyond your reach, then you can really use this supercomputer that you're talking about and this methodology that you're teaching. And I think you'd have something that felt impossible before become very possible. And I mean, your life sounds pretty impossible. You're like, yeah, when I was hanging out with Elon and Bill, and when I was chilling with Halle Berry and Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, but you discovered something that people told you when you were young was never possible, and that you were actually the last person that could actually accomplish it. But in that, you facing that pain, you created solutions for millions. So I acknowledge the work that you've done and the simplicity that you brought and elegance in this model, so that people could actually embrace it. But I think you're right. The methods, if you would have left it at just that, bringing the mindset and motivation is a game changer. And it's never convenient work when you discover that before you hit send. I'm in that process with my book right now, so I get it. I'm on manuscript number I can't even tell you right now, but
Yeah, And with creative pursuits, it's interesting because you could always enhance it. You could always, make it better with more time. But I think it's what's important, in this conversation. Like it's interesting because my teachers would have been surprised if I read a book, much less wrote a book. But even me, when I analyze it, looking through this lens, why did I wait so long, almost 3 decades, to come out with a book? But I a few years ago, I had a near-death experience, an accident where it just puts things into perspective, new point of view, and it taps into
Motivation
a
got there.
purpose. Exactly, purpose. And I just thought like, wow, like it made me think about legacy and what I leave, connected me to my mortality and what I would leave behind. And right away I signed the book contract, and everything's from there. But a lot
We
of,
got so
again,
many commonalities, Jim, you and I. I mean,
there's
Killing
the
Sacred Cows, I had two business partners die in a plane crash. I had been spending 2 years, only wrote 72 pages and had a terrible title. But after their death, and then my wife confronting me about the way I was like only working and not even considering quality of life, all of a sudden that motivation got there. It wasn't just about me writing something to be cool and to
yeah.
position myself. It became much more valuable to what imprint and impact I could make. And so
And you're going to be more sustainable that way also. Like I believe some goals are attainable through just sheer force and will, but they're not sustainable over time. And I feel like when you tap into that well of purpose and, and energy and real solid methodology, and you take care of that mindset, then things, you do what looks like magic to other people. And in the book, I have a quote from a French philosopher. You appreciate this. It says, life is the C between B and D. Life is C between B and D. B stands for birth, D stands for death. Life, C, is choice. And I believe right now, these difficult times, they can define you, or these difficult times can diminish you, or these difficult times can develop you. We decide. It's always that choice. And so we can make choices every single day that, in terms of our mindset, what we're going to say to ourselves, in terms of our motivation, how we're going to connect, what we're going to do for physical energy and mental vitality, and the actions. And that even when we feel I mean, that's really how you become limitless in a limited world. It's, we tap into this incredible resource, and then we do it together. What I love about your work in terms of like community and connection, it's great because, here we all need people to encourage us. We all need people to educate us. We all need people to challenge us and cheerlead for us. And my advice would be that if you haven't found that person yet, be that person for somebody else. Most importantly, be that person for yourself too.
what a way to end this, man. Very prophetic and poetic at the same time. And I really appreciate it. I mean, if people weren't sold 60 seconds into Jim opening his mouth on the limitlessbook.com, I mean, I set this up before knowing the timing of the book and everything, but I think it's a perfect way to deepen this. And look, you've connected with so many wonderful people because of the books you've read. And I'm saying constantly invest in yourself. Invest the minimal amount of money that it takes to get Jim's book, but then invest a much more significant amount of time to get the results, because I think they're going to be exponential with this type of an investment. So, Jim, thanks again. I really appreciate you, man. I can't wait to get you on the stand-up stage when you come out to Utah. Hopefully get you out here to my cabin. We'll have a good time. Maybe we'll host a dinner. I become a little bit of I've been taking all these Traeger grill courses. So
Really?
I'm a decent, grill master at this point, an amateur grill master, which is an oxymoron, but I've got a few things I could do really well, and we could just have a wonderful time and
Yeah.
share some good stories.
Can I challenge everybody to do one thing before we go?
Do it.
Small, simple step. I would encourage everyone to take a screenshot of this conversation right now, or a picture of your notes. And I think one of the fastest ways to learn something is to teach it to somebody else.
Yeah.
One of the fastest ways to teach something. Absolutely. One of the fastest ways to accelerate your learning is learn with the intention of teaching somebody else. That when you listen to his conversation or any kind of education, you learn it for yourself, but then you also learn it how you could be able to share it with somebody else. And so, you could tag Garrett, you could tag myself and post it online. And because that way I could see it. I'll actually repost some of my favorites. And I'll actually send a copy of Limitless to one person just for fun for doing that, because that small, simple step gives you momentum. You can tap into the science of momentum. And what I would love for people to share along with that is, you just went through a whole bunch of your to learn lists. You're going through and you're learning how to grill, and you're learning, I want to learn how to to do stand up, what is something who's the person who's watching this right now? What's something on your to learn list? You have your to do list, but what's on your to learn list? Because while you're cocooning right now, it's a wonderful time to do a handful of things. Like I feel like the metaphor of I've been using this symbol with clients, the symbol of a butterfly, a lot lately because we feel like when the caterpillar feels like it's the end of the world, it becomes that butterfly, and we feel like we're cocooning, physically distancing ourselves, and we're alone with our thoughts, we're alone with our fears, we're alone with our doubts. We might be even feeling alone, but there are a few things people could do just as a takeaway right now. I'll make them 5 C's to make them easy to remember. Number one, the first C is clarity. Use this time to clarify your life, meaning that sometimes when you're going 100 miles an hour, you're so busy doing the thing, but you're not asking yourself, am I going in the right direction? And the great clarifying question for everybody is, what's most important to me in, in this moment? What's most important to me in life? What's most important to me in career? What's most important to me in money? What's most important to me in my relationships? What's most important to me in my impact? And then ask yourself a second clarity question, which is, what are my actions aligned with those values? It's like Stephen Covey talks about, you don't want to be really efficient climbing the ladder of success and find out that it's leaning on the wrong wall, and so get clarity right now. It's a wonderful time with this pause to be able to check in with ourselves internally. Second C I would recommend really fast for everybody is care. We know self-care is not selfish. And I don't just mean physical hygiene. Yes, wash your hands. Yes, make sure you physically distance, do all those things, but mental hygiene also. What are you feeding your mind consistently? Because if it's just gloom and doom, what's going on in the news, there's an algorithm, just like there's an algorithm to Instagram and Facebook. If you just engage with every cat post, watch every cat video, like and share those, it's going to show you a whole lot more cats, because that's what the algorithm is going to do, give you more what you engage with. Well, if you're just engaging with what's threatening and what's scary and what's dark, your mind has that same algorithm. And so chronic stress shrinks your brain. Chronic fear actually suppresses your immune system, makes you more susceptible to colds, the flus, the viruses. Whole area of science called psychoneuroimmunology. And so it's interesting. So make choices. These are small choices. Life is a C between B and D. C is choice. Make choices for care. Make choices for clarity. And then finally, the last C I would say, a couple of C's is contribution. The antidote to fear is service, right? And I know you're really big on this, and we share the same value. Even with my book, we're donating 100% to Pencils of Promise to build schools for children from, like all around the world who don't have access to schools or clean water, or healthcare, and also Alzheimer's research. But how can you invest your time, your talent, your treasure to make a difference? Because, same thing, when I go on stage, I get nervous because I was the boy with the broken brain, right? My two biggest challenges growing up were learning and public speaking. And the universe has a sense of humor because that's all I do is speak on learning. And your strengths, your struggles could lead to your strength. And my mess became my message, really. But I get nervous even before going on stage. But the moment I get on stage and I focus on serving, fear just disappears.
Think about that. Totally.
Exactly. So contribution could be as simple as calling a neighbor who might be alone or more vulnerable or older, and just making sure they're okay, or making food for frontline workers. And then finally, the last two C's, creativity. We know that it was during the Great Plague that Shakespeare wrote Macbeth. That Isaac Newton left London because he closed down his university, and
Right.
he was sitting underneath a tree in his yard, and an apple fell on his head. He came up with theories of motion and theories of gravity. What can we create? What business have you always wanted to create? What portfolio? What invention? What blog? What jokes? What book have you always wanted to write? Now's a nice time to create. And finally, the last C you can make a choice on is capability. Capability, meaning that you have your to-do list, but what about your to-learn list? Right now, we live in an exciting time. As much as the challenges we have, with technology, we have unfeathered access to the world's information. We want to lose salsa, stand up, speed reading, Spanish, YouTube, right? Or podcasts, and what's on your to learn list. And I just say one of the things that should be on your to learn list is learning how to learn. And you can apply that towards everything else. But I would challenge everyone, small, simple step, take a screenshot of this or take a screenshot of your notes, picture your notes, post it, tag us both in it. I'll repost some of my favorites and gift out a book to one person, and then share one small, simple step or what's on your to learn list.
Well, Jim, thanks for your generosity of your time and the contribution of value that you brought today. So we're so stupidly aligned. It's silly and awesome. So it's just really easy to let you do your thing and learn while you're saying it. agree, resonate, and I just really am
Yeah.
excited for what your book's doing, and that you're getting that progress and it's taking off, and I hope it just stays there and keeps going.
Garrett, I want to say this, I want to echo the same sentiments to you. I really appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate the cape that you wear. You know, you're an inspiring force for good, and unstoppable, you know, force of nature. And thanks for having this encouraging conversation at a time when I think the world needs it, you know, the most right now. You offer real hope, and you offer real help to people.
Well, and for all those that were watching, if you heard noises in the background, my two kids are up here listening. I had them off camera. They're hitting the garbage can with their feet. They're moving the beanbag around. They're turning on the air. But you know what? I thought it was an important conversation to share with them, and excited about what that catalyzes within our family.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I wish everyone who's watching this lots of life, lots of love, lots of laughter, and always lots of learning.